And here is kind of the middle topic in Excel Chapter 3, something to do with the way we address cells. First of all, let's come over here to G3 and enter in percentage of total. It's centered. This is not real good. It's too big. Percentage is going to be a little number. I really need to do what's called wrapping it. You had this concept back in Chapter 2. We go Format, Cells, Alignment, Wrap Text. I can then widen it so it looks nice. That's good. Okay, if I wanted to figure out what percentage of the total something was, you do a division, right? Now, we have 600 plus 1,000 and then 2,000,008. You should be able to eyeball that and say, well, if it were 600,000 and 3,000,000, 600,000 is 1/5, which is 20%. And this is a little bit bigger than that, and that's a little smaller, but it'd have to be 700,000 to be 25%. So it's somewhere between 20 and 25%. If you can't do that kind of estimating in your head, it's something you need to learn to do. Practice. It'll come. But how would I do that for a division? Well, I'm not going to mess with doing it wrong. I'm just going to do it right. Equal. Click on the first one. Divided by. Click on the second one. A whole lot easier than typing it in, wouldn't you say? And when I hit enter, I get the equivalent of 22%. Okay, we estimated between 20 and 25, so that must be correct. So far, so good. Now, what happens though? Let's see, I don't want to copy it down to 9. What happens when I copy it down? Oops, nothing good. Now, what's your instinct when something like that happens? If you said click on undo, that's wrong. You cannot figure out what went wrong if you hide it. Let's click on the second one and figure out. Equals F5 divided by F10. What's in F10? Nothing. Look at the next one. F6 divided by F11. What's in F11? Nothing. Okay, what's the cure? What did it need to be back in G5? Instead of F10, it needed to be F9. The same in the next one and the next one and the next one. Now, hopefully, when you think of something like this and you think of scope and size, what if you had 100 lines? Would you want to type every formula by hand? Not at all. So your brain should say, hey, this is supposed to make life easier for me. There must be a way. And there is. We need to go back to the original formula and tell it, don't change this address as we copy it down. Shut off the relative addressing. Remember, what we have here is 1 to the left divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down or something like that. So it's a pattern that's being copied, and we want to say, no, this time keep the cell address the same. To think this out a bit, which of these two was incorrect, F4 or F9? Did we want F4 to change to F5, F6? Yes. Did we want F9 to change to F10, 11, 12? No. So F9 is the address we need to lock down. A common mistake beginners make is they correct the second one, the one that first went wrong. The problem needs to be corrected on the very first one. I'm going to click right in the middle of the F9. Function key F4 will lock this cell address down. If you press F4, you'll see that it puts a $sign in front of the F and a $sign in front of the 9. This says, don't change this piece of the address when we copy. In Chapter 4, we'll see some other iterations of this. Let's go ahead and hit enter. Let's go back and copy it down. And now it's much better. Okay, looks good. Let's go ahead and format it as percent, and let's see if we have any problems here. Mentally add these up. 22 and 28 is 50, and 25 is 75, and 21 is 96, and 5 is 101%. Not good. You do need to check for things like this. The reason this is happening is because of rounding, or visually rounding but not actually. So I might want to increase the number of decimal places. And if I check that position there, 0.1 plus 0.9 plus 0.8, 0.7, and 5, that ends up to 0 and it adds up to 100%. Just a little thought that you should know about. Okay, this idea of absolute addressing with the $signs in the address, this is probably the single most difficult thing in Excel. So if you kind of get it at this point, it's good. If not, review the video again, pay attention to it in the chapter, play with it. It took me about 2 years before I could walk into the classroom and talk about it without prepping it. So it is not easy, but you can walk yourself through it. Just some cleanup here. Because we added this column, now our merging and centering is off. So if I highlight the two cells and hit merge and center again, something interesting is going to happen. It uncenters it, and I click it again and it works. So for annual sales, same thing. Merge and uncenter and center. One final item that will be covered somewhere in the text is something called themes. You can make all of your related documents, PowerPoint, Excel, Word, have kind of the same thematic look. And let's just explore where that's at. It's under Page Layout. There it is, Themes. Currently we have the Office theme applied to this. And we can see that effect if we go to Home, Styles, and you can see a little bit here that heading 1 is blue, etc. And you can see the different styles. I'm going to hit Escape a couple of times. Let's go to Page Layout, Themes. I'm going to pick Opulent just because it's so drastically different, not because I like it. And now if I go to Home, Styles, we can see that the colors have all changed. That's where they're going to get this stuff from in a later chapter. So, we're basically done with introducing you to Chapter 3. There are a couple of more videos of different things, some other functions that are used, date functions, and a payment function that we will be using later on in the semester. You should also view those videos to make sure you understand those other functions.